Welcome to the Battle Playbook,
dedicated to speaking our truth both in and out of medical school. Let's get it.
So before we get into the video, we just want to catch up on where we have been. I know we've been all over the place and y'all have not seen us
For a minute. We've been gone for a long time. But we're back. That's what matters. We're back.
We're back. Don't judge us. We're busy. You know, 2 medical students. That's our excuse for now.
Yep. I had a son. She had a, nephew? So things have been very, very busy, but now that it's stable, we feel like it's time for another video. It's been time for another video, but...
Do you want to start? Like, what have you been up to in general?
Yeah, so right now, I have officially submitted my residency application as of last week.
Yes.
So right now, I am currently waiting on interviews. The official, did I tell you guys what specialty I'm doing?
No, we never actually said it on YouTube,
So the specialty that I have picked is pediatrics. Yeah, so I picked pediatrics just because I fell in love with pediatrics during my rotations. Originally coming into medical school, I felt like I wanted to do pediatrics just because I've always been volunteers at like daycare centers, I've been teacher's aide. I've always just loved working with children, but I fought it inside of medical school.
And she's always like connected with children too. Like,
yeah.
I feel like kids automatically feel really, really comfortable with her. So
yeah,
it made sense.
It just made sense. And so I picked pediatrics and I'm super excited about that. And the official interview release date for pediatrics is October 11th. So I am patiently waiting
and praying
for my top programs. I'll do another video about like what my top programs are, if I got interviews at those programs. But yeah, I am patiently and anxiously waiting for interviews.
Okay, yeah. And for me, I just finished block 5. For us, block 5 is mostly like MSK and neuro. And then we're gonna finish neuro in block 6. So I have one more block left and then I'm done with pre-clinicals, which is insane. I feel like just yesterday we were talking about what it was gonna be like with me starting medical school. And now I'm literally about to start clinical rotations, which is insane. I'm thinking about urology and emergency medicine as 2 of my specialties as of now, but I haven't started rotation, so I don't even know like if my mindset will change or not. I'm sure it will.
Right.
So for today's video, we decided to write some really juicy questions here in a bowl for you, and we're gonna answer them. So basically these are just questions that y'all probably are thinking about that no one ever talks about, that we decided to put in words.
Yep, so let's get to it.
Okay, you wanna pick the first question?
Gotta make it juicy. All right, first question is it easy to make friends in medical school? Who wants to go first? Should I go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
You picked it, so.
I would say that it is very easy to find your crowd in medical school. I think it was easier for me to find my crowd in medical school because I did the post-bac program at Georgetown that's for underrepresented individuals. So there was a lot of Black individuals in that program.
Right.
And those Black individuals or those minorities are the closest friends that I have in medical school. But outside of that friend group, I would say that it is very easy to make friends in medical school. It is very easy to find people that you naturally gravitate towards. And yeah.
I honestly agree with that. I think starting off with doing GEMS, you kind of come in with your people already. But even if you didn't do a post-bac program, I honestly think it's really easy because people come in wanting to have friends anyways. Everyone's like coming in with no friends, not really knowing each other. If you did a post-bac program at a university, then you have the privilege of knowing other people. But most people don't know anyone. They just want to come in, make friends, and like survive medical school together. And honestly, everyone's down to hang out. Even if they aren't in your niche, people are still down to hang out with you. Like, honestly, everyone's very open because I think everyone feels like, hey, we're all here together. Let's just make it and let's just survive. So, yeah, making friends in medical school is very easy.
Very, very easy.
Okay, so let's choose the second question. I'm going to lift this up because I don't know if y'all can see it, but... Let me put this down. All right. Do you have any peers in medical school that makes you worried about them being doctors in the future? Honestly, I'm gonna say yes. Some people you meet in medical school, you kind of get a little bit scared. You're like, wow, like you're gonna be a doctor in the future. Like you get scared of some of the ideologies that they have. I feel like one instance that I'm thinking about is like when we talk about race and when we talk about minorities in medicine and like outside of medicine, you can tell that some people come from really, really privileged backgrounds. And that's a good and bad thing. You know, no one can choose like what family they're born into. So if you came from a privileged background, that's okay. But I think it's very important to be able to see your privilege. And I think some people I've met in med school, I'm a little bit concerned that they don't see their privilege. I bet, who am I to judge, right? I'm not God, but sometimes I'm a little bit scared. Like, ooh, you're gonna be a doctor? Can you be a good doctor? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with that answer. There are some individuals that I'm very scared about talking about. But again, who am I to judge? I would say that some individuals' mannerisms can be off, especially when you're talking to a patient who may not have the same science background or science knowledge that you have, and you're just speaking at them with like medical jargon. That kind of freaks me out, because I'm like, if you can't even relate to this patient and not dumb down, but you can't, what's the word? You can't speak in a language that everyone can understand. Yeah, then I'm worried about you. You're coming at them in medical jargon after medical jargon and then saying, oh, this is the treatment. I'm worried about you, because you're not helping, you're not soothing this patient at all. You're giving them more anxiety because they have no idea what's going on. You're sending them on their way and they're like, you know, afraid because they don't understand what just happened to them. So those individuals are the individuals that I'm worried about. But again, these are things that can change in residency school. You never know.
And I think me and my sister came in with zero medical knowledge, really. So we're able to understand like what patients know and what they don't know because we came from that space. So we kind of understand that. Like for example, like if you say like, oh, do you have GERD? Not a lot of people understand what you mean by saying GERD, but that's just acid reflux. But if you didn't come from a medical background, you're able to say like, oh, do you have acid reflux? This is what acid reflux is, and explain it in a way that a patient will understand. But if you came from a family of doctors, you might think everyone knows what GERD is, and that's not the case.
And it's that privilege aspect that we're talking about. A lot of individuals in medical school have parents who are also doctors and are very privileged of having parents that are doctors and knowing that medical knowledge. And so it's essential to understand your privilege and work on your privilege.
Work on it. And even for us too, like we have some privilege as well that maybe other people don't have. Like we have family who is ready to support us no matter what for us to get to medical school. So we're able to identify that privilege, and I think it's important that we all do the same.
All right, now let's get to the next question. Okay. All right. What is it like being older in medical school compared to the young people? This is a very good question. And I want to start off by saying we're not that much older than than our colleagues, okay? I am in my 4th year of medical school, and I'm currently 27 years old, which is the average, but that's
the average, honestly.
Yeah, it's the average, but there are younger individuals in medical school. And I would say being older in medical school just comes with more experience, I would say. The difference between me and maybe someone who is younger than me is that I took the time to experience life. I took a gap year, and so during that gap year, we traveled a lot, we enjoyed life, we had a good time. Versus people who just went straight into medical school, didn't have that time to take a break, are more likely to get burnt out by the process because they didn't have that break. So for me, I felt like I was ready to tackle medical school because I had taken that gap year.
Yeah, and for me, I took 2 gap years. So I was like 1 year older than my sister was when she started medical school. So I was 24 when I started medical school, and now I'm 26. I'm in my 2nd year of medical school. And I can say I did feel older than most of my peers who came in straight from college and they were 22. 2 years is not a lot, but it is a noticeable difference because, like she said, I had time to kind of experience life. I was working in the workforce. what else? I took the time to travel, hang out with my friends. I was studying for the MCAT during those 2 years. So I kind of did me. And when I started medical school, I knew exactly what I was in for. And that's not to say if you're younger, you won't know what you're in for or like what you signed up for in regards to medical school. But I was okay with maybe going out less because I had already done that before medical school.
Right. And for me too, in college, I had traveled a lot in college.
Right.
So even before I took my gap year, I had gotten everything out of my system. So by the time medical school had started, I was just ready to go. Versus people who just came straight into medical school, they still wanted that party life. They still wanted to get, you know, drunk, have a good time.
They didn't know how to study too.
They did, right.
A lot of people, a lot of direct admits don't really know how to study because there's so much information that you have to consume.
Right.
I mean, we had the privilege of learning that in a post-bac program during our gap years. So that was also a different thing, I think, as well.
Right, right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to choose the next question. Anticipation is real. Okay.
Why are we picking all of your questions in? It's all your
I know. I'm like, where are your questions at? Okay, what is it like being a single woman in medical school? So this one is mostly for me, right?
Yeah,
yeah, obviously. Yeah,
I'll be listening.
Yeah. Honestly, this is a very, very interesting question, and obviously I came into med school a little bit nervous about it because I knew I'd be super, super busy, and I knew dating wasn't going to be the first thing on my mind. So going through medical school, I feel like I have that added pressure of meeting someone, you know? Even when you're drowning in studying, I'm still like, okay, should I go on Hinge? Should I entertain this guy who's trying to get to know me? I feel more pressure to respond and just be in the dating scene because I'm single in medical school, especially as a woman as well. Feeling like you're on a time clock. I just turned 26, so I have that like weird quarter life century crisis going on where I feel like I need to be dating. And then it's weird at the same time, I'm like, I don't care to date. Like, I don't want to date. But then people are like, oh, are you dating? My family, my parents are like, oh, are you dating? Like, do you want to get married? Like, they want me to get married ASAP. ASAP Rocky. Especially since especially since my sister is married, they're like, okay, it's your turn. And I feel like I don't want to make it seem like it's easier than how I actually feel like it is, because I think it's really hard to be single in medical school, but I feel like it's doable. It's doable, and it's doable to find your person in medical school, even if they don't go to medical school. I just feel like you have to be more intentional about it. You have to be very intentional about dating, and that is easier said than done, because dating takes a lot of effort and just time and energy that sometimes you don't want to spend.
And before entering medical school, when I was single at the time, everyone always says, oh, when you enter medical school, you're going to find your partner. You're going to find your lost love in medical school because you have time to, you know, mingle with other people who have the same interests as you. But it's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
Some people, yes, they do find their loves in medical school. But at the same time, everyone is so busy in medical school. Everyone is trying to get their degree. Everyone is trying to get good grades in medical school. And when you do have a break, sometimes you just want to be by yourself. And
you want to chill with your family and your friends. You don't want to be dating. You don't want to be talking to random dudes that you don't even know. That's how I feel. Like, I have a lot of friends who got married when they're 30 or 31. They found their partner a little bit later than life. Like, life is long. We have a long time, like a lot of years to live. At all. So there is no rush, but don't think it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's not easy.
As a Black woman, can I find a spouse in medical school? That is a very good question, and we touched on that on the prior question just a little bit, but this is more so in terms of race. I feel that usually in medical school, you have a predominant white community, and I feel that the white population, it's very easy, or it's easier to find a spouse because you have a lot of people who have similar values,
similar background,
right, as you do.
Right.
But when you come in as a Black woman, it's a little bit harder because, as you know, the medical field, there's only 2% of Black women in the medical field.
And even less for black men. There's less black men than there are black women.
Facts. And so coming as a black woman, it's very hard for you to find a spouse if you are looking for someone with similar values and similar background as you. And so let's say, for example, you have 100 people in medical school, right? 5 people of them will most likely be black individuals.
Right. So let's say 5 out of 100.
5 out of 100 will be black individuals. 4 will be black females. So you have 1 black male to 4 black women.
And this black man might not even be your type.
Might not even.
He probably isn't your type. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's probably not your type. So that's the odds you're working with if you want to find someone else in medical school.
Put that into reality. Okay?
We're not trying to scare you though. We're not trying to scare you guys. We're just trying to be honest with you. We're just trying to be honest.
Right. We're laughing because it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
So it is very, very hard as a black woman to find a spouse.
In medical school.
In medical school.
In medical school. I think it'll be easier if you kind of broaden your horizons. You want to date an engineer, you want to date a businessman, you want to date other types of men. I feel like that makes it easier than trying to find someone in medical school with you. But like, let's say me, for example, we counted and there are 13 new couples in my medical school class. 13 new couples.
A lot.
It's a lot.
Wow.
And 1 is a black couple. 1 out of 13. So that was like a special case. So that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. 1 out of 13?
1 out of 13.
It's terrible, but it's
terrible.
good.
It's terrible odds. It's terrible odds.
Right.
And you know, the rest of us, you know, we're still dating and stuff like that. It's not like we're doomed.
Are y'all doomed?
Are we doomed? I pray. God forbid. We're never doomed. God forbid. But honestly, I just want you women, black women especially, to know kind of what to expect when you go in. That doesn't mean come in and be thirsty. Don't be thirsty. Know your worth, because your worth is very high. And still date with intention and like common sense. But just know your environment where you're going into. Obviously, if you go to HBCU, it's different. Different odds. We're talking about a PWI med school.
Right. And for my class, I can't even think of any black individuals who found each other in medical school.
Oh, really?
I mean, they might have experimented, but I don't think it was successful, so...
See, that already tells you. It tells you enough. Honestly, I think my class is a very special case that there was 1, so...
Yeah, this might be exposing people.
Actually, no, I might take that off.
Yeah, I didn't say names though, but there's literally no relationships, black relationships in my class that have been successful.
There's 1, but it was 1 person in your class and 1 person from the person
above. Yes, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
But not in the same class. But you're right. There was 1 individual from my class and 1 individual from the class above that are successful and are doing wonderful together.
Right. So I might have some hope. You know, I might date below.
Okay. You got some hope. Look below, look above.
I know.
You can't be picky, man. You can't be picky if you're trying to find another person who's pursuing medicine. You can't.
Okay. Is having a family possible in medical school?
So
I'll take this one.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So right now, my son Zion is 7 months old, and I have a husband. His name is Henry. So having a family in medical school is 100% possible. I even think it's more possible than having a family and starting a family in residency. It's easier in medical school because you have that additional support and you're not working for a company. You're not getting paid, you know? I think having a family in medical school is very, very hard because not only do you have to take care of yourself and, you know, take care of your boyfriend or your husband, you also have to take care of your son, or your daughter, which requires a lot of energy. You come home, you have to cook for yourself, but you also have to remember to have food for your child, especially if you're pumping and you have to provide that milk for your son at all times. It does interfere with your daily activities. You have to put him to bed, and that takes a lot of time too before you can even start doing your work for the day. So it is very hard, but at the same time, it is very rewarding to have a family in medical school. You feel like you have a purpose in medical school, you
feel
feel
to say it's probably worth it, even after all that.
It's 100% worth it. When you have a tough day, to come home to your son who's like laughing and smiling, it literally just warms up your heart, and you feel like you just have a purpose in medical school.
So you feel like you have a drive.
Yeah, I feel like I have a drive. I feel like I am doing this for our family. I'm doing this to make our family comfortable. I'm doing this because I can show my son that you can do anything you put your mind to.
Right.
So for me, it's definitely possible to have a family in medical school, but it is hard, but it is, again, worth it at the end. And people like to say, oh, you have to plan to have a family. I'm going to plan to do it this month or this year. Right. It is very hard, first of all, to plan to have a baby at a specific time. I feel like
you never know. Like,
you never know.
Fall pregnant.
Right.
You never know.
Exactly. Like, it's nice. Oh, okay, it sounds nice. Okay, I'm going to have my baby in November. How do you know that that's going to happen? You can try for that, but it's not, very rarely does that ever occur. So the best advice I would have for anyone who's thinking about having a family in medical school is, yes, it's okay to plan a little bit, but at the same time, don't think that there's a perfect time to have a family, because there's no perfect time to have a family. First year, second year, third year, fourth year, they're all hard years in their own ways. So
do you think it's better to like know around the time that you're ready? Or?
I think it's better to say this year I want to try to have a baby. Instead of saying this month. Because some people come to me and like, I want to try to have a baby in November of this year. I'm like, that's very hard. To say, oh, I want to try to have a baby M3 year. That's more doable.
More realistic.
Right, it's more realistic. So, again, it is possible to have a family in medical school. Yes, it's hard, but it is definitely possible. And the advice that I would give for anyone trying to have a family in medical school is to ask for help. Tell individuals or tell the administration when you are pregnant. Do not keep it to yourself, because it does not help anybody. Administration, they are required to help you either financially, to help you emotionally, and to help you physically with your schedule. So for individuals who are planning to have a baby or who are currently pregnant, I would definitely advise you to be very honest with the administration and be very honest with what it is your needs are. Whether that's, well, I need extra money for my visits, for OB-GYN visits.
And they don't want a lawsuit on their hands either.
Exactly.
Like, they don't want them going to the news outlet being like, this medical school didn't help this pregnant woman. Like, they want to help you to honestly protect their own backs as well.
100% facts. So ask for help, ask for anything you need. Everything I've asked for in medical school has been abided by. So I would definitely encourage you to ask.
Another one. Oops. Okay. How does it feel being broke when your other friends are making money? Honestly, this is a very, very good question, because I feel like me and my sister are the only ones in our friend groups who are in medical school, other than the friends that we've obviously met in medical school. And honestly, I'm surprisingly more okay with it than I thought I was gonna be. I kind of have always just been content with, you know what, this is like my now, it's not my forever. And just knowing that I'm honestly working towards a greater purpose. And I've always felt like medicine is my calling. I've just always felt that way. So to me, I'm okay with being patient for the benefits in the long run. You know, like I know obviously I'm gonna make money in the future. So I'm okay with honestly reaping, I'm okay with sowing the seeds right now and reaping the benefits later, but that's just me. What about you?
I think I'm perfectly okay with it. It definitely sucks not having that actual money, because right now most medical students are living off of loans, and so that does suck. And sometimes you do think like, dang, what if I did pick a different specialty and I was in business and I was making money right now, but I'm struggling, and I struggled for like eight years.
I could have done consulting.
Yeah, I would have been good. I would have been good automatically. So don't get me wrong, I have those thoughts coming into my mind.
Right.
But at the same time, I know that, again, we're going to reap the benefits at the end. It's a very long journey, but at the end, we are just going to be fine. So it is okay that right now we're both living off of loans.
Right.
And we will eventually pay off those loans by God's grace.
By God's grace, yeah.
Them 100,000 loans. It's painful.
It is what it is, honestly.
It's very painful, but it's possible to pay it off. So yeah, I feel okay with it.
And during residency, you will be making some money. So it's more so 4 years you won't make any money, and then after that you'll make some money to honestly live your day to day, and then when you become an attending, you'll be able to obviously pay those loans back.
Yeah, and during residency, don't expect to be making 100,000 plus.
Right.
You make about 50,000 to 80,000, depending on the specialty that you choose. So that's the expected salary to make, and that's it's a doable salary in a doable city, I would say so.
And don't go into medicine just because of the money, because you definitely are not going to be satisfied from that.
100%.
If you want to solely make money, go into business, go into other career paths that is more guaranteed and quick money. Do that. But if you feel like medicine is your calling and it's for you, then do that. But don't do it just for money, because obviously you're not going to be satisfied.
You'll be miserable.
You will literally be miserable.
Because this pathway is not for the
long.
weak.
It's long and it's tough.
It's long. I'm like, am I still in this pathway? That's serious.
Especially if you take gap years, it's more extended. It is what it is.
So, yeah. Next question. Do you need to know what you are interested in before entering medical school? Absolutely not. You do not need to know what you're interested in before entering medical school. You can have an idea that you just want to be a physician, and that is totally okay. The only caveat is if you're interested in a very competitive field, I would say. Yeah. That is the only time I would say that you should know what you want to do before entering medical school. Or it would be beneficial for you to know before entering.
It would help.
It would help.
Yeah.
Specialties such as dermatology, urology, ophthalmology, orthopedics.
Yeah.
Those competitive fields, I would say it's very helpful for you to know if you want to go into those fields, because those fields require a lot of research and a lot of specific research in those fields that you want to build upon throughout your medical school career. So that would be the only time I would say that you need to know what you want to do before you get into medical school. Other than that, pediatrics, family medicine, psychiatry, OB-GYN, those specialties, I would say it's okay to know.
It's a little bit more forgiving.
It's a little bit more forgiving,
yeah,
to fully decide, like during your third year of medical school. I would say that you need to know what you want to do after your third year of medical school, because at that time you are applying for residency school. Right. You can apply to multiple different specialties during the residency application, but it just gets a little bit more trickier.
That might be stressful.
And it might be a little bit more stressful.
Yeah.
But also, don't get me wrong. If you want to do those competitive fields and you don't figure out till last minute, I know a couple people who wanted to do those competitive fields and they didn't know until the end of third year.
Right.
And
honestly, follow your heart.
Follow your heart. And they're getting interviews. So at the end of the day, you will be okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what my sister said. Do introspection your first year and see, okay, do you fall on the surgical path that might be a little bit more competitive? Or is it okay, maybe you want to do emergency medicine, it's a little bit more forgiving, you can take your time in figuring it out. We're just saying this will make it easier for you. We're not saying this is the only way. If you decide third year, at the end of third year, then you decide at the end of third year. Still follow your gut and still do what you want to do. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But we're just telling you that earlier will make it easier for you, and that's just the truth.
Absolutely. And we recommend doing shadowing experiences before entering medical school, because that's a great way to see if you could see yourself doing that thing for the rest of your life. Right. So, and
still be open to change as well. Even if you come in knowing one specialty, during rotations, I haven't started yet, but everyone has told me this. Everyone has told me this. Keep an open mind when you do rotations, because you might change your mind. You literally might. And if another specialty matches you more than the specialty that you thought coming in, do that. Honestly, just follow your heart. That's all I have to say about that.
Absolutely.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna choose one more question before we end. Okay, so the last question is there racism in medical school? So I'll take the wheel on this one. Yes, there is racism in medical school. There's racism everywhere. I mean, that's no surprise to anyone. I think the first place that it's easy to identify it is in clerkship grading. Recently, a lot of medical schools have been interrogating their clerkship grading and if it has any bias towards any students. And obviously the conclusion was Black students are more oftentimes not being given honors during clerkship and clinical rotations. So I think most medical schools have transferred to doing like pass or fail in order to mitigate those bias that people are seeing in clerkship years. Other ways that you might experience racism in medical school is people might expect you to, speak on the behalf of all Black people during these really intimate conversations that you have within medical school. You might feel like people aren't listening to you. Maybe in an anatomy lab, everyone's trying to identify a structure and you feel like no one is trying to hear you out. That might be a way that you might feel some microaggressions. But honestly, I feel like the best way to help that is just be confident. Be confident throughout your medical school journey. If you are being singled out because of your race, honestly, I think it's best to just speak out. Like, never harbor things in. Like, if you feel like someone's attacking you because of your race, you're feeling microaggressions or just flat out racism, speak out against it. Speak out against it, tell people, share, overshare so that your school takes the steps that it needs to take in order for you to feel protected. But honestly, you're gonna experience racism everywhere. Even from your future patients, you might experience it as well. Absolutely. And it's best just to come in prepared, come in confident, know that you are worthy and you are deserving. And as long as you know that, honestly, no one can break you down.
Yeah. And I love what you said about being confident because it's very important. When you are confident, people are less likely to look down on you or to think that you're not worthy of the position that you hold. And so just being confident is very important. And another thing that you said that I really love is that you will experience racism when you are talking with patients. There are certain patients that will frankly tell you, I do not want a Black physician taking care of me, and I've been in a couple of those situations.
I actually have too, surprisingly.
Yeah, and it's really sad during those situations to think that, like, wow, racism is this direct. I really, you know it, but sometimes you like to think that it's not that serious or it's not that deep, but it really is that deep. And there are patients that will tell you that. And those times, it's okay. Walk away from those situations. You did the best that you could. I wouldn't argue with the patients. I wouldn't try to argue your worth because you know your worth.
You know it.
You know it. So at those times, just walk away from the situation. The patient, there are certain patients that are just going to have their own ideals and their own views. Just leave them alone. And in regards to the pass or fail curriculum, I like that, we're eliminating the possibility of racism seen in grades, but at the same time, you can still see it in the comments. There are comments that, even if a rotation puts pass or fail for how you did, for your performance on that rotation, you can still see a detailed comment for how you did, and that can still be an area that can display racism.
The word choice that they use, they might say hardworking, whereas for someone else they'll say intelligent, immaculate. Like for you, they'll be like tried really hard. Like those type of things portray a picture that you don't naturally, that your medical knowledge isn't as innate as maybe some of your white peers. So when you see comments like that, speak out against it. Talk to who is it, like a manager, like who's in charge of that?
Talk to the program director. Talk to whoever's in charge. The clerkship director, I would say.
Yeah, talk to the clerkship director and talk about what you're worried about, and honestly see if anything can change from it, especially if you feel like you did a really, really good job and you feel like the comments don't display that in the way that you think you deserve.
And you might not notice it until you compare the comments that you got versus the comments that one of your colleagues got that worked in the same rotation as you. Then you start to see those differences, like, I did the same or even more than my colleagues. So why is my comments like this, whereas hers is vastly greater than mine, then at those times you want to question it, and that's when you want to speak out against it.
Yeah, we hope you guys like the questions that we chose. Please let us know what you want to see from us in the future. I know we always say that, but we'll try to look at your comments. No, we obviously read every single comment.
We read every single comment, and we love the support that we get from these videos. And so yeah, just thank you so much for being with us all the way through the end of my 4th year and the end of her
2nd year.
Yes, let's get it. So
lots of love from the Battle of Sisters.
bye y'all.
Bye.